on the governor's side of the issue, that's going to be a very expensive, dirty race, and I don't know if we have the best candidate yet. We have one candidate, Cinde Warmington, who stepped into the fight, but nobody else seems to be interested in taking on Kelly Ayotte, so that may be difficult.
Yeah, earlier Peter said something kind of interesting. You said that right now we only have one candidate for governor, Cinde Warmington, who...
That's not true.
Right, that's actually incorrect. Jon Kiper has been running for significantly longer, and he doesn't have the sort of cumbersome record that Warmington does, who worked for Purdue Pharma and, you know, sort of advocated for what ended up being the opioid epidemic in the state. So I'm just wondering why you chose to say that we only have one candidate right now.
I think, quite candidly, a serious candidate, I should have said.
What makes Jon not serious?
From what I've heard, his presentation, he hasn't really caught on. I don't think people know him. I don't think he's got the wherewithal or the financial resources. That race is going to take millions and millions of dollars and well-financed. So I think we need to put somebody out there that's well-financed, has good name recognition in the state, and I don't know whether we've done that yet.
Does that mean that they need to be receiving money directly from the state party?
I don't know. As far as where the money comes from, I think individual contributions are better, but whether the Democratic Party elects, Ray Buckley elects to send money to whomever, that will be his call and not mine or Joe's.
So just a quick follow-up to that. Jonah mentioned the St. Anselm poll. When it comes to performance against Ayotte, Kiper performs at a 31% as opposed to Warmington's 34%. So that's only a 3-point margin, and they both lose. So that gap realistically is attributable to your point about name recognition. So my question is that really the only actual difference? You say money, but I don't think it's really something that people enjoy to hear, that financial backing is what drives the success of a candidate. It would normally be on merit and policy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, unfortunately, whether it's in state or nationally, money does drive the bus. If you don't have the money to put ads on Channel 9 or media blitzes, mailings, you're just not going to win, because it's all about name recognition. And I think you said it well. Warmington is still ahead of him in the polls, not by much, but at this stage, I think you need to be in a much better position. It's already late as far as the election cycle, and that's what concerns me, because, again, I'm going to be perfectly candid. Kelly Ayotte's going to be very difficult to beat. And my focus is on seeing the New Hampshire House come back and be in charge, so there is some buffer. Kelly Ayotte's got a lot of backing, and that's what you need, unfortunately, even on local races. And as I mentioned, places like Hillsborough or Antrim, people need money to get mailers out, to go door to door, and if you don't have that money, it's just, unfortunately, you're not going to succeed.
Do you worry that Warmington's record will actually harm the optics of the Democratic Party in the state?
Well, I don't know. Some of you already know my son died from an opioid overdose, so it's very clear to me what that's all about. At the time, I don't know how, her record that's brought up all the time about her, pushing opioids as a lobbyist. I've heard that. I don't know how long she worked for pharma. I really don't. I mean, Kelly Ayotte's got stuff in her package too. It's not very flattering, but I'm not going to say that makes her a flawed candidate because she worked as a lobbyist 20 or 30 years ago for a company that was pushing opioids that doctors were prescribing.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to add a piece on it, if I might, because I think you're speaking to, and with all due respect, I think Peter and I diverge a little bit here, because I think he's right. I 100% agree with Peter in the sense that realistically, you're going to need money to push forward. The structure as it exists right now is such that you're going to need to get your name out there somehow, catch fire online or something or the other. I think he is doing his best to make that happen. But I wanted to add that I do think that the Democratic mindset in general to poo-poo a candidate who doesn't have the endorsement or the kiss of death from the Manchester Mafia, as I like to call them, the Ray Buckley establishment who controls this party, isn't serious. I think that's prevented us from having a very full-throated debate about where the party should move forward. Where are the just like you said, what's the strategy moving forward? In a lot of ways, we're prevented from doing so because we have candidates shoved down our throat in statewide primary elections. And when somebody tries to do otherwise, I mean, agree with him or not, Volinsky did attempt to do this, running a very serious campaign against the establishment. The establishment did everything in its power to make sure that he could not win, and yet he still lost by only 1 percentage point. So I think there absolutely is a sense amongst the electorate, maybe not people who come here, but people who don't always pay attention to politics, that the establishment runs everything, that money runs everything, and that nobody who's regular, everyday, individual citizen could go out there and run for office. And I don't support Jon, I don't support Cinde, I haven't endorsed anyone, I should say, at least, in the primary election, but I do appreciate what Jon is, I wish it would wear a suit, but I do appreciate where Jon is coming from, in the sense that I'm just a regular human being, and regular human beings should be allowed to run for office as we are constitutionally able to do. And I think that, I know he's not running to make a point, he says it all the time, but I do think that him being on the debate stage speaks to what I want to make sure is that we as Democrats, people who really care about this, when we're watching the Democratic primary debates, and Jon is attacking Cinde for her record, and he's speaking to, we need regular people in politics, and all of these other different things that he will say, I hope that we don't poo-poo him and laugh him off and look aside to him, because he represents a whole lot of people who don't pay attention to politics a lot, but are still a part of the party. And so we should treat those people with respect and bring them into the fold and say to them, we are going to be a Democratic Party that no longer takes this corporate money that has destroyed our ability to stand on principle when it comes to legislation like child care or education or the environment or any of the things that are near and dear to our hearts as liberal, lowercase l people in this world. So that's my only caveat to Jon.